crazy story. Just like the others, how am I always involved? I can't explain it. Must be something in the air, or maybe it's just me. Is it me? Is it me? I can't explain. What else can I say?
Welcome back, everyone. Happy Friday. This is It Me? I'm your host, Michelle. We've got our co-host, Josh Shapiro, in the house. And this week's guests, we have Lawrence Korber and Wasim el-mounzer. Thank you both for being here.
Thank you for having us.
Do you guys know anything about this show? There's no wrong answers.
I'm going to say no.
Okay. Wasim?
I was going to invent something, but
No.
that's good.
So basically, it's just a show where we spiral and we talk about like what we're spiraling about each week. So I don't know. Is there anything you guys are spiraling about lately?
Well, is spiraling necessarily a negative thing?
No, it doesn't have to be negative.
Could lead
I
to
don't think.
growth.
Are there a lot of positive spiralings?
You could be spiraling upwards. I don't know.
It's like an upward spiral.
It's an upward spiral, right? I've heard of the downward spiral,
I think that
but
just
now
might be
we're
a
in
manic
upward spiral.
episode.
Yeah. I'm doing great, everyone.
I just saw something as we were starting the podcast that I definitely want to bring up because I feel like it's like something maybe in your life.
Okay.
Your sound was too loud on
Yeah.
the thing, but Matt was messing around for like a while, and then you were like, "All right, it's too loud, but I'll get used to it."
Yeah.
In life, do you just like accept that you're just like, "Okay, it's fine, it's fine."
You could have been like, this podcast is where we punch Wasim in the face over and over. And I'd be like, this is the podcast. I agree to it. I should have read the fine print.
You know how a lot of shows have like a gimmick now, like Hot Ones, you're just like, you're on
Yeah.
fire the whole time,
Yeah.
or like Cold as Balls or whatever. You're just like, this is the one where you go fucking legally deaf. You're just like, you're blaring your own voices inside your head. We're just like, oh, cool, yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's you're very right. That's like I don't know if it's called. I feel like whenever I don't know, I just blame it on culture. Like, but I'm sure could be across cultures. Like this could be an Arab thing and also a Jewish thing or an Italian thing also. You know, where it's just like you go over to somebody's house and you have to be uncomfortable almost.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, for
You know,
sure.
like when I would go over as a kid, and this affects me to this day. Like I can't accept things from people when I go to their homes.
Oh yeah.
Really?
If you know, when I would go over to like a family friend's house, and they would always offer you juice. That's the first thing.
Yeah.
I would be like, you know, I'm 6.
Yeah.
My friend's mom's like, you want juice? I would say yeah, and my mom
Yeah.
would like pinch me.
Oh,
Really?
shit.
Yeah.
Like, you fucking take
Okay,
juice. What are
yeah.
you fucking
Really?
psychotic, dude?
Yeah.
You
yeah.
only
Juice?
say
You want
yes.
juice?
You only say yes if you get asked 3 times.
In this economy?
Exactly.
You say
exactly.
no twice.
Yeah.
No, man, when I used to go over it, I had a friend who was like very hardcore Italian. I used to go over to his house, and no was not on the table.
No,
was not
never.
part of the conversation. She used to say, "Are you hungry?" And if I would say no, it meant I was getting something small. And if I said yes, it was a fucking mistake. She used to come down with like food for all of us, like all of the kids, everyone. It used to be like pasta, sandwiches. It used to be like a fucking spread. And I used to come home, and my mom would be like, "Time for dinner." I'd be like, "I'm not hungry," and she'd be mad because I had eaten a full fucking meal at my friend's house.
It's crazy because like no means no, but
Sure.
not in every culture.
No. That culture, when it comes
That's what
to
I told the judge.
But when it comes to food in an Italian household, it's not about consent. They don't
Yeah,
give a
there's no
fuck
consent.
about your
No,
feelings.
it's literally to the point where they're like, let's say there's like a chicken leg left and they want you to eat it, and you're saying no, they'll throw it on your plate.
Yeah.
They won't even like
It's
wait
yours
till
now.
you take it.
Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if it's there, you have to eat it because then you're rude if you don't eat it.
I always felt weird at the people who are like, leave your shoes on. That was weird
yeah.
for me because my house was always take your shoes off house.
Right.
And then you go to a house where it's like, leave your shoes on. I'm like, it's filth. Like, what do you know, man? What are you doing?
Right.
That's so bizarre.
Totally agree.
That was a lot of Italian houses I went to. They're just like, leave your shoes on.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I think it's because they just clean the floors constantly. I think it's like has to do with like imposition. I don't know, because I had the same experience as you when I would go to someone's house. If someone asked me if I wanted something, my parents would always be like, "Don't say yes, because you're just an imposition." Like every time I went to a friend's house, my mom would. To this day, my mom's still like, "Is it okay? Like, are you sure you're not imposing?" But then it's the opposite
Oh,
when
yeah, when
people
they come over, yeah.
It's like
What
my
do you
mom's like,
need?
"We'll
Yeah.
like chop off her arm for them."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, the house is filthy. My mom's been on her hands and knees.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
not a spot anywhere, you know?
Yeah.
There's 17 dishes.
My mom used to clean up before the cleaning lady would.
Oh yeah, us too.
Yes.
My
Yes.
mom-
It's
and
a
it's not
shame
like-
thing.
It's not like we were like had so much money that we had like a live-in maid or anything. We had one lady came over for like 3 hours once a month to just like tidy some shit up or whatever, right? And my mom would fucking go in like deep cleaning mode before this woman got here.
Right.
And I was like, why? That's defeating the purpose of like the whole thing. Like, what are
Yeah.
we doing? You know?
Yeah.
And she's like, no, Lawrence, it's proper. Like, what?
Yeah.
What proper? What are we doing?
You have to save face, right?
okay.
You can't actually have a dirty house. They come up.
Yeah, we got to look
David.
good for the cleaning.
Yeah, it's like, oh my god.
My mom would do the same. When we'd have a big gathering, she would always have a cleaning lady over,
Right.
and it would be spotless. And I'm like, well, if I came to work,
Burn
I'd be
the
like,
money,
I don't know
yeah.
what to do. I don't know. And she would make her do like I don't know, get inside the like windowsill or something weird that my mom wasn't willing to do.
Yeah, like the deep clean.
Yeah, it was
deep
worse.
clean, yeah.
You'd think you'd come in and be like, oh, it's gonna be an easy. She's like, hell no, you're going in the gutters, lady.
Yeah. Well, that's like when you go to someone's
You
house.
can't leave anything else, so they have no option but to do the
Yeah,
gutter.
they can only do the gutters. What do I have to do? Well, if you actually look up a bit, you can see
Yeah.
these gutters are filthy.
If you spiral upwards,
And
you'll
then
There
if
see.
you,
you go.
if you can retile the roof while
Now
you're
you
up
just
there,
you got a
that's hell,
Filipino
man.
woman on your roof.
God.
Are you Irish like all the way through? Are you Irish
I'm
at all?
0%
Oh,
Irish. So, but I get that a lot,
You are wearing green, Lawrence. It's very
I am wearing green.
It's very confusing.
which is, it's not to accentuate my eyes. It's just my Irish pride.
Okay, sorry. What nationality? are you?
I am a mutt from different Eastern European countries.
Okay.
So it's just the places my grandparents' parents fled from. So it's like
Nice.
Russia, Romania, Lithuania, Latvia, these kind of sad Eastern Bloc countries.
Yeah.
So that's kind of my basically everywhere that eats potatoes as a main dish. It's full
Okay,
Jew,
well,
like,
see,
that's-
Irish. You could be Irish.
I could be Irish, yeah.
Potatoes,
But
same
I've
diet.
been getting that for the majority of my life because I have dark hair and blue eyes. I keep getting Greek and Irish,
Okay. Yeah.
like on repeat, and Italian every so often, but mostly it was Irish. I don't know. Maybe I have an Irish look. Is that?
I don't know. I just
Now that you say it a little, I
assumed that you're
cackled
Irish.
because I know
you're
you so
Jewish,
well,
but
and
I
I know
assume
you're
you're also maybe
not.
half Irish.
I don't know any Irish Jews.
I don't know any Irish Jews either. Actually, now that I
Yeah.
just said it.
Now
I
that
think
we're bringing
St.
it up.
Patrick played the flute and they
Yeah.
all
And a couple misguided Jews are like, "Wait, is this the desert? Is this the desert? Do you need us here?"
Are you a full Jew?
Um,
Like both sides?
technically, but no.
Okay.
So my parents are both Jewish, but my mother's mother converted.
Okay.
So depending on how religious you are,
Right.
the Reformed Jews, which we are, which is the most liberal sect of Judaism, are like, yeah, come on, hang out. But the very religious Jews are like, absolutely not. There's
Right.
rules, so depends who you ask, really. I consider myself Jewish, probably more traditionally and cultural than religious, but yeah, I don't know. And now apparently Irish, so that's nice. I did actually do the Irishman of the Year breakfast, and I know you did
Yes,
that too.
yeah.
Which was so fun. I was supposed to do it in 2020, but pandemic problems.
Yeah.
And that never happened. So what ended up happening is I ended up doing it 2 or 3 years later in September when it's supposed to be in March. So we were there like 27, 30 months after the fact.
Yeah.
And they have this grand dais of these affluent Montrealers. They have the guy who does the announcing for the Montreal Canadiens, Michel Lacroix, who I was like geeking out over. And I'm sitting next to the mayor and the Irish ambassador to Canada and all these great
Yeah.
fucking people. And then the program, they never reprinted it. They just had the same one from 2020.
Okay.
But the guy who they were honoring had, in the 3 years, grown a pandemic beard.
Okay.
So the guy was sitting on the dais and he just had this gigantic white beard, and they had this pamphlet of him clean shaven with this big smile. And I was like, guys, I have this room full of like all these affluent Irish Montrealers. I said, I'll know in my heart that the Irish and the Jews are always going to be good friends because you guys couldn't spring for a new
Yeah.
picture. So thank you guys so much for having me. Yeah.
Yeah, the Irish community in Montreal is really like intense, and they do the big Irish of the year, and then they like audition like princesses. You can
Yes,
win like
and
princess,
queens, which
and then
we
you
know of. We
travel
know.
all around. Yeah, my friend did it. Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
The Irish love nothing more than celebrating their Irishness.
Yeah.
In Montreal.
Yeah,
The Irish ambassador, it was 9 a.m. and everyone was fucking drinking.
yeah.
And they offered him a drink. They're like, "Do you want an Irish coffee?" And he's like, "No, it's 9 in the fucking morning. No." And he's like, "Maybe at night after, but why now?" They're like, "It's 9 in the morning."
Yeah.
And stuff.
Because being Irish in Canada is just drinking all day.
I mean, I don't know.
That's the one thing from the culture they
Yeah,
brought that.
they were like, we're perpetuating weird stereotypes that he's
Yeah.
taking back to Ireland. It's like the Canadians don't know. It's like, oh
Yeah.
shit, sorry, man.
Yeah, so funny.
When I did it, it was like right before the pandemic, and I was like kind of an opener, and then Joey Elias is like he's generally a headliner, right?
Closes every year, yeah.
Is he Irish?
Nope.
He's as Irish as Lawrence
kind of-
is.
You know, just those two Irish-looking Jews on the dais, just messing it up for everybody.
This is a thing now, Michelle. Did you think Josh was half Irish, half Italian, or
Everyone's Irish to me. Yeah.
both good senses of humor? Huh?
Yeah.
The Irish
yes,
and the Jews.
Very.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know?
Totally.
Both were not considered white when they moved to North America from Europe, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Both persecuted in their
Yeah.
own right, but
Yeah.
yeah. They get along though. Like do they? Or
Sure.
no?
I've never had any problems with the Irish. So from personal
Yet.
experience, but
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll see how
You know what?
We'll see how this
Yeah.
podcast lands.
Yeah.
Actually, and then we'll-
Jewish mobs and Irish mobs have never had a war.
Oh, that's interesting.
Interesting.
I made that up, but
Okay, that's perfect. I was about to ask. I was about to ask. I'm like, how did you know that? But I'm happy that you're just like.
I'm a mafia enthusiast over here.
I looked
I've
at you
checked
like,
every
wow,
gang
that's
war that's happened in the 20th and 21st century.
I just
No
took you for your word.
Jew-Irish interactions at all. It's unbelievable. So what happened the year you did it?
It was like me opener, and then it was like another speaker. I think he was a former Alouettes player or something.
Yeah, they let all the athletes speak. Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes.
And then it was Joey right after the guy, and me and Joey sitting next to each other, and Joey keeps whispering jokes and we're both facing the audience. We're on is it a dais? Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
You know, everyone's dressed nice, huge room, and he keeps like whispering and like making fun of everybody, and I'm like I couldn't like breathe. And then he's like, then the guy's giving this speech. He like was an addict and he was gonna kill himself, and he like brought his life back.
Oh no.
And at one point, Joey just goes to whisper as he's like doing all this, and I was like, "Don't," because I was like, my eye is because you're holding in laughter so much, like your eye starts going.
Yeah.
You start like shaking, and I'm like,
Your
if I
shoulders
just,
are giving you away. You're like,
I'm like, if he's giving, imagine this guy's like heartfelt speech of how he turned his life around, and I just start burst out laughing. Forget it.
Yeah.
But no, that's
Irish
like
car
so,
bomb waiting
like,
for me
Yeah.
it's
to die.
so
Like,
nerve
I
wracking
don't
when
know.
someone's trying to talk to you like during something like that, being on
Yeah.
stage with everyone looking at you. That's horrible.
But he still remembers this. He still tells me this story. Like he started to come out. I was like, don't. I became serious. He's like, you know, I look up to Joey. Like he's a dude
Yeah.
who, if he's gonna tell me a joke, I'm gonna go along with it. But there
For
was
sure.
one time where like, don't you fucking dare.
amazing.
And then he had to follow this dude, and he did great though. But it was a really fun time. They treat you really, really nice.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's a fun time.
It's unbelievable. They feel like you're in this fucking conference room and they have this giant breakfast and you're there with celebrities and shit. It's a cool moment. Eh?
Yeah.
It is.
It's interesting.
I've never gotten the opportunity to do it, and I'm Irish.
Well,
are you?
know.
Okay,
I guess I have to
thought
be
you were Jewish.
I'm half Irish.
So are you full Jewish or are you just a little bit Jewish or what percentage?
Were you bar mitzvah?
Okay, so we do like this question on the show sometimes. That where I ask you if you're more anxiety or more depression. That's like,
Ooh.
yeah. So I mean, typically they come together, and I'm sure you both suffer from both. Otherwise, you wouldn't be in this profession.
There we go.
But which one do you lean more towards?
I would say anxiety.
Anxiety.
I would say anxiety for me anyway, because I feel like I have certain triggers for anxiety, like crowds, shopping malls, lines, you know, which is great when you want to take pictures with Santa. Like, it's really fun. It's just all of them
all
fucking.
three.
Yeah, it's just the Venn diagram, just fucking hitting each other. I went to Illumi yesterday.
Oh God.
Because
in Laval.
Yeah, because Illumi's closing in a couple of days.
I don't know what a Lumi is.
Illumi is that huge installation in Laval with all the fucking light
Oh
nonsense.
yeah.
Right? So my wife is like, babe, it's closing in a couple days. We should take the kid. We should go. And I'm like, yeah, you know, I want to at least experience it before it closes. It seems like a fun thing. So we're going through it, and it is just an assault on all the things that make me anxious, right? It's bright and loud and crowds and lines and cold and walking. And it's just like
Yeah.
the drum kit of like, fuck everything. Like all, you know what I mean? It just sucks. And then as we get there, we see that there are cars driving through. I'm like, babe, we could have
Yeah.
driven this.
Yeah.
Babe, we could have driven this. She goes, but you know, my wife's French Canadian. Yeah, you know, but
An Irish accent,
Our
actually.
kid in the back, he wouldn't have seen everything. So,
Your wife is Derek saying, hey.
but listen, hey, got it. So you know, my wife was just like, I was like, we could have driven this. We could have driven this. I was so fucking mad. And she's like, well, Wes wouldn't have seen anything. And I was like, you could have taken him out of the car seat and he would have sat on your lap for an hour when we're going 5 kilometers an hour.
Yeah.
And it would have been great. So I was outside in the cold, not feeling my hands, getting bumped into by children and the elderly, just fucking raging. So for me, it's definitely anxiety. Absolutely anxiety. Anxiety
social
brings the fucking
anxiety
the
too.
self. Yeah. People talk about comedy. They're like, how can you stand in front of hundreds of people and tell jokes? That's easier than a dinner with 6 people.
Oh, yeah, easily.
That's easier than having a conversation or flirting at the bar or doing any of that kind of shit. I would rather be on stage for hours instead of having like a fucking, well, how many siblings do you, how many, yeah. You know, like for me, that's 100% anxiety, I would have to say.
Okay. And you, Wasim?
I'm gonna say depression just to be different, but no, I think a little bit more. There's definitely both, and I can attest to like going to parties in my early 20s, like straight panic.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I would hide. I used to have a bit about it. Like I would just go to a party and I didn't know. I just was like, I don't know how to. Every time I felt like everyone I talked to was like, why are you talking to me? You know, like I could never be like. I would hide in the bath. I've been to parties where I'm like, I'm just gonna go in the bathroom for a bit, and then I'm like, I guess I could go now. You know,
It's been 45 minutes. What's he doing in there?
Yeah.
And you're like, oh,
You're in the
drugs,
bathroom,
man. I'm on
you're like,
drugs.
"Shit, now they're gonna think I'm shitting.
yeah, exactly. And then that's more anxiety.
Yeah.
But more I'd say depression. Yeah, yes.
Did you ever? I don't remember. I know you had the occasional cigarette, but did you ever like fully smoke?
Yeah.
Okay, because fully smoking is a beautiful.
Yeah.
Sorry, I have to leave this situation. I have a nicotine addiction.
Oh, absolutely.
Sorry,
it was
I have
half
to
the
go.
reason. It was my tweet. I don't tweet. I haven't tweeted in years, but my tweet with the most likes ever was something like, I don't know, like 90% of the reason I smoke is to like leave any place I can go at any time and just stand
Yeah,
outside.
absolutely.
Totally.
In like a quiet,
Totally.
Yeah.
semi-secluded, and someone comes up to you, it's probably another smoker, and you can just talk
Yeah.
about something small. You can have a smaller conversation without the fucking
Yeah. What kind of
anxiety.
smokes you got?
Yeah, what is going on? Yeah.
I don't smoke cigarettes, but like when bartending, like going to smoke a cigarette is like the move to get away from people you don't want to deal with. I just go stand outside and stare off into the distance.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
And if like someone who's like talking to me and I'm like, I'll be right back, and they just see me, just go stand outside and
Well,
stare off.
When you work service, like that's kind of the only way to get a break is to
sure.
take a smoke.
Yeah.
Like,
Right,
so
exactly.
I know so many people that started smoking just because they needed a break from their like 10-hour shift. And they're like, this is the only way that I can get outside. I used to do the same thing. I would just tell my manager I'm taking a smoke break, but I don't smoke. I just stand
And
outside.
that's what people
Outside break.
people I worked with, and they're like, it's unfair the smokers get to go outside and smoke. I'm like, go outside and do something for 5-10 minutes, bro. You think we give a shit? You think
Yeah.
everyone trying to fucking stop you?
I saw that in Japan, if you're not a smoker, they give you like a certain amount of extra days off.
Yeah,
in the
that's
year.
cool.
That's
Why not?
nice.
That's smart.
Why not? Take it.
Incentive.
Konnichiwa.
Yeah. I like that at a party you can go and smoke because I don't smoke cigarettes, but I'll go smoke weed. And it's nice to like get outside and then it breaks up the party.
Yes.
So and then also I feel like I missed out on smokers culture. Like even the outside hang sometimes is better.
I've
I find to
generated and created and curated friendships that have lasted me a really long time that I have started because it's like, I need a light, I need a cigarette, you need a cigarette, you need a light. Legitimately. Like I've had people, especially when you're in school, like Dawson, you go outside and you smoke and you just bump into someone and you see, hey, we always have a cigarette at the same time on Tuesday. Yeah, I'm in between the same class. What's your fucking name? You want to get something to eat? Da-da-da-da.
Yeah.
It just happens that way, right? And especially like with the comics, like us fucking talking shit and commiserating after a set, like going outside and lighting a cigarette is like a great way to like
So nice.
take a second, evaluate what went well, what went wrong, what do I have to do? Hey, did you see my set? Do you have a note? What's happening? You know, it's just a good opportunity to kind of step out and just kind of fucking
For sure.
get away from the room where it's a pressure cooker of everything that's going on.
Yeah, because you're getting out of the room physically, but it's also like kind of metaphorical as well.
Absolutely, yeah. It's like, and the energy
Love a
changes
smoke break.
immediately as soon as you step outside. Right?
Oh my God, yeah.
It's you ever fucking have a really good set and you feel like you're $1 million and then you just walk out onto the street and you just feel the energy change.
Yeah.
You just feel you're like, oh, I'm in a different state now.
Yeah.
I'm from a different.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Like, just
I
fucking-
go, I'm better than all of you.
Yeah, like,
I go,
did you guys
Yeah.
crush in front of 7 people?
could
Did you
never-
fucking nerds?
You
huh?
could never do McLean's like I just did McLean's, all right?
Yeah, let me see you get on stage with grumpies, you fucking assholes.
yeah.
Yeah, let's see it.
This is making me want a cigarette so bad.
Oh, buddy.
Did you quit?
You want a Zin?
Yeah, I've been
What's
in
a
and out
Zin?
for, I don't know
It's
what that is.
nicotine pouches. It's just nicotine salt.
okay.
There's no tobacco. Apparently,
chew it?
It's
No, you
also
just put it
called
in the lip.
African sugar.
You want some?
You
For
put
some
it in your
people.
lip?
Yeah, put it in your upper
Am I going to
lip.
talk weird?
No,
Are we
I
all
have,
getting
I have one in
fucked
right
up?
now.
You in?
You pop it up there, upper lip. I put it a little bit to the side. Leave it dry. You don't want to get too much saliva, or else it's gonna just like then coat your mouth.
Does it taste?
That's spearmint. Go on.
I put it up here?
Yeah.
I just yomp it or what?
Yeah, you help it.
Okay. Let's wheel off the rails.
This is gonna be.
And then
wild.
I just gotta say, like, if you start to feel lightheaded, like maybe like,
now that I
take
have
out
it in
then.
my mouth.
No, no,
You're
no,
like,
no.
"Nah, if you feel
You
it.
could
Don't I
you could
look
keep
weird?
it in for an hour, but you don't need to. So if you guys start to feel
Does it
something, then you can
dissolve?
just take it out. No, keep it up there. You have to take it out. I got an empty cup here. You guys can put it in the empty cup.
This is bizarre.
This is weird. Doesn't it look like I got punched in the face or no? You don't.
No, you look good. Nobody can see
No,
anything.
no, you
And
really
I
can't
just
see.
want to let you guys know now, the podcast is officially sponsored by Zin. Thank you for watching.
From the creators
are
of
doing-
Yum.
I'm
You are-
tapping out early.
You
Yeah,
are
that's
doing a
yeah.
lot of promo though. They should really
Oh yeah,
They should
maybe one
really
day. I
hit
just want
you
to get
up.
a package of Zin. That's all I want.
yeah.
You're really working on
It feels like I'm at
sponsorship?
the dentist.
Not the green sweater.
This is on my mouth is on fire. My lip is.
Oh, I love the burn.
Yeah, it's a
Because
weird.
it just
I love the
absorbs.
burn. You gotta do this before you hand them
God.
out.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's fair.
You
But
gotta
I
talk
wanna
about
feel
the
some-
burn
I
and the
need to
lightheaded.
feel.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
I'm gonna
yeah,
leave
exactly.
it in
Have
a
you
bit.
ever tried the gum or the patch?
I don't like the gum and patch. I don't even smoke. I've never smoked this. I've smoked like maybe like 20
Why do you
cigarettes in
have-
my life. Nicotine opens like certain neural pathways in your brain, and I felt like I was missing out. And then this is like the perfect option.
What neural pathways does it open?
I don't fucking know. They said it, and I'll go. Okay, let's
Who's
go.
they? What is this vague nonsense?
Listen,
It's funny because you consume so much nicotine, but you don't smoke.
I don't consume. I
Well,
take
you
maybe,
vaped before.
maybe like 2 Zins a day, and like I'll take 0 some days.
But do
There's
you
6
vape?
milligrams of nicotine in there, and there's 15 milligrams of nicotine in 1 cigarette, and I don't vape at all.
Oh, really?
It is like a stimulant, though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You know?
Like, dude, before going on stage or like,
You in it?
yeah,
Take a little Zin?
It's nice.
What does it do to you that makes you better
I
on
just
It
stage?
feel
opens
locked
the
in.
neural pathways for the information to flow. Obviously,
It's like a low key, like
Buzz?
like a little ADHD pill, kind of like a little
Okay.
tiny, a little
right.
little
right. A little
like,
like,
a bump of an ADHD.
yeah. Yeah.
I just feel like my lip's gonna fall off.
yeah.
That's all I feel right
After
now.
like 30 seconds, I was like, I don't like this.
But I'm committing. I
Man,
I like
let's see
it.
how you do, brother.
Does
it have to go here? Can I go like back here?
Yeah, I can go back there. You can
Oh,
go
God.
wherever you want.
There's just something about leaving it in your mouth for a long time, which I feel is like makes it weird. The gum is strange because the gum comes with instructions, which I did not read. So I'm just chewing it like it's regular gun, and then I started having these fucking heart palpitations.
Yeah.
Shit.
I thought I was having a fucking heart attack. And I went online and I started reading about it, and it goes, yeah, you're supposed to like chew it for 30 seconds and stop. So it like will gradually release the nicotine.
Right.
If you chew it like
Yeah.
regular gum, it's like, here's a pack of cigarettes at once.
Yeah.
And it just fucking
Yeah.
Well,
careems you with all the
I found
nicotine.
it hurt my stomach when I did that.
Yeah.
And it's like it's brutal. You just want to throw up, and it's like it's sickening. It's just not.
Ugh.
Fun. Yeah.
It's awful.
And are
funny.
any of these side effects present with cigarettes or no?
I love smoking so much. I just enjoy smoking. I love the act
It's just
of
like
smoking.
a cool factor too.
I don't feel particularly cool. I never felt particularly cool, and I'm like, oh, I'm lighting a cigarette. It's just like I like it. It's something like I'm very habit ritualistic almost. I just enjoy it. I used to love it while I drive.
It's
Driving.
it's
Oh,
very
it is.
easy to be like a
Oh, yeah.
process addiction.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
coffee, cigarette, or like drive, cigarette.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's
yeah.
the ritual. It's
Yeah.
not the
rich-
nicotine for
it's the
sure. Because this
ritual.
isn't doing shit for me.
Nah.
And I've tried the gum. There's no way I'd be like, oh, Zin, like in my car. I love a Zin in the car. Like,
There's a little Zin in the car. Just put it in my lip and then fucking
For me, mainly, I
let
love
it
it when I'm
ride.
bartending. Bartending, because like I drink a lot when I bartend because that's just the kind of bar it is.
Yeah.
So Papa's in halfway through the shift. Ooh. Ooh.
Woo.
Does it
Yeah, yeah.
sober you out? Like
No.
cuts the edge? No.
Just cuts the edge a little bit, but not really. So, like more just like makes me a little bit. It also helps me think before I speak.
Right.
And I need that when I drink.
And racial slurs have gone down 24% when using Zin. All those neural pathways are just open. The off ramp for racial slurs has been closed
Yeah,
for
yeah.
construction. We're good. Yeah.
It's incredible things it is doing.
Thank you, Zin.
Yeah.
Zin.
So how do you cope with your anxiety and or depression other than taking Zin? Like what's like a go-to? Do you
For me?
Yeah, for either of you, whichever one wants to go
I haven't learned
first.
how to. If you have tips, honestly, I don't know.
There's like nothing you can do to like or like do you experience anxiety before you go on stage?
No.
Not
I,
anymore.
I experience anxiety while I'm going to a show.
Yes, agreed.
On my way to the show, it's when I feel nerves. The bigger the show, the more nerves. But then once I'm in the room, somehow it just doesn't fire.
It goes
I don't know,
away.
it goes away. Like once I see the stage, I'm big on, when you're talking about dealing with anxiety, something I picked up through playing sports when I was younger is a lot of visualization.
Yeah.
So if I've been to a room before the anxiety drops a lot because I can visualize what it's going to look like. The crowd is just kind of a blob, so I don't need to. But who's going to be on the show? I know Michelle's going to be in the green room. I know Wasim's going to be in the green room. I know Josh is going to be in the green room. So I'm seeing who's going to be there, where I'm going to be, where I'm going to sit, one of these 4 places, where am I going to be on stage? I know. I can tell, right? So the visualization is a big help when you're looking for it. And once I'm in the room, I'm like pretty fine.
Okay.
So I don't get nerves of like, I'm about to walk on stage, I'm nervous, which I find is like pretty manageable. It's like the drive there where I'm like, what if I don't do well? Everyone hates me. Like that kind of shit, right? So the same thing
That's
for
a
like.
good tactic. I've never visualized who will be at the show. Never done that.
No, but when you see a lineup, right? So you know, like.
Yeah.
And you book shows, so you know.
Yeah.
You have a list of people, and you go, okay, so it's going to be, this person's going to be there, that person's going to be there. So there's going to be 4 or 5 of us around each other in the room. I know this is going to be happening. So when I'm in like, I know going to a Lumi yesterday was going to be stressful and long, but I'm imagining it. Oh, I know my son's going to have fun. I know my wife's really going to like it. I know it's going to be fun. I know we're going to have all these great pictures. I know I'm going to see everything after. I know this and this and this. So I'm thinking about what it's going to be. And then even though there are parts that are uncomfortable because I'm getting fucking kicked in the heels by some toddler who their parents not paying attention, and then some old person is yelling into the side of my ear, and then it's fucking cold and I can't feel my fingers. These are all things that I've thought about already.
Right.
So even if I think about a scenario that's bad or I'm anxious about something being the worst, I can kind of get ahead of it in terms of the way I process.
That's really positive. That's like a really great tip, actually.
I try.
What about you?
It's a good tool.
You don't do anything to help your
follow that,
depression? Well, you
Wasim.
I walk,
exercise.
I exercise.
Yeah.
You
But I wouldn't
walk.
say it's not like, oh man, I'm depressed and then I run and I'm like, take Joe Rogan. I've never like.
No, it doesn't cure it.
No,
It just
I feel
helps
a little
right?
bit better.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I went to the gym before this, not because I was feeling depressed, because it was leg day.
Hey,
know?
he never skips left day.
I wanted to look jacked for the podcast.
Well, your huge ass fucking start tearing
I
panels
broke
off of the wall.
the sound foam with my glutes, so I'm not depressed anymore because of
That's
that.
what
Oh yeah.
It's that juicy ass that's literally tearing the house down.
I've done meditation. Also, I never really felt like anything helped that much, to be just being very honest.
Yeah,
But I do the
that's
things
fair.
because people say they help. And maybe on some level they do. Those are the only 2 things.
When you do meditation, do you just kind of do like do you have like a guided meditation, or do you have like
Yeah.
a kind of like okay?
I do. I've tried many different kinds. The thing that helps me a lot is like this. It's like it's more of a breathing exercise. You just follow someone else's, like they're like breathe in this way and then do that, and then hold your breath and then do this. That actually really makes me feel. If I ever have like a bout of anxiety, I've actually done it at a party where I was feeling anxious. I went in the bathroom, did the breathing, and I felt better.
That's cool.
Like much better. And I'll do it before a big show sometimes. Sometimes right before going on stage, I'll randomly get like crazy anxious.
Yeah, I get that.
And then I do that breathing. You might have heard me at the Nest. I go in the back and I'm like,
Yeah,
like
right
I don't know
before
if that
you-
helps.
That's what I'm saying. What do you think you would do if you're at the party, you're doing the breathing in the bathroom, someone opens the door?
Full blown panic attack
Yeah,
for
I'll
sure.
back up there.
I would spiral up through the fence
that's the upward spiral I've heard so much about.
and escape.
There was I was trying to get a picture of you before you recorded, because you did a
Oh my God, I was
special.
so nervous.
And you had the Johnny Cash shot with his hand against the wall and the Dewey Cox walk hard. You had a moment like that where I opened the little curtain in the 3rd floor and you had both your hands up and you were doing this breathing, and there's like a light on your back and you just looked good. And I was like fumbling around to get my phone, and then you moved. I'm like, son of a bitch, fuck me. I was like so close to it. I was like, that would have been great just to fucking send it. But I get
Yeah.
it in time.
I do notice when I get like leading up to the album taping, I started smoking again. And I smoked I smoked like a pack of cigarettes that night in full panic mode.
Yeah.
And I quit right after. But I think cigarettes for me were like, it's ritualistic, but it was an anxiety thing.
Yeah.
And I associated with comedy so much.
Yeah.
When I started comedy, I was like, I was smoking, like always had a pack kind of thing. And that ritual, that's why it was hard to quit, because for me it was completely associated with doing comedy. And it was part of the
Yeah.
reason I liked comedy. I'm like,
Yeah.
I get to smoke cigarettes with funny people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what? Thank God it wasn't Coke.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, how
Yeah.
many comics have we seen come through and just
Yeah.
absolutely destroy themselves?
Yeah.
But
Crazy.
everyone has their thing too. Like some people, it's booze, it's drugs, it's fucking
Yeah.
cigarettes.
Yeah.
It's
Bro,
like-
Grumpy's on a Tuesday night gets dark.
But that's,
Yeah.
that's the thing. Though. It's
yeah.
part of the, and it's like Michelle and I had this conversation in the green room a couple weeks ago, maybe,
Yeah.
about some people that you see will leave the scene and
Yeah.
that you lose them in comedy sense to their own healing. You lose them
Yeah.
to the choices in their life. You were there too.
That was
So you lose people in the sense of like how many comics, we've been doing it roughly the same amount of time, 9-10 years. How many people have you seen leave the scene because they've prioritized their own health and their own healing? And there's a bittersweetness of you're like, oh, I'd love to see that person perform. That sucks. But also at the same time, they're making the best choices for themselves. So that's amazing for them, right? So there's always that thing. Like I remember when I started, I would try and go drink for drinks with a couple comics who were like way better at drinking than I was. And I was like, I'm going to fucking die. If I keep this up.
Yeah.
So you have to really figure out your own boundaries and your own set of like rules and how to have a good night and how to have a productive night without ruining your fucking reputation, career, life. You know what I mean?
Yeah, do you guys get shame overs when you drink? Like the next day, just like anxiety?
Or like hangxiety is what the
Crazy
kids are
anxiety
calling.
after I drink. I can't sleep.
Oh.
That's why I've cut down a lot. I do like drink. It's something that I'm trying to just have a healthy relationship with, for which means almost never doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, same.
And it's a big reason is like, when I do drink now, I sleep like 3 hours and I wake up panic at like 4 a.m. and I'm like, oh God. And then I go walk. And
Like as soon as I hit 30, the ability to drink almost evaporated from my body.
yes.
Yeah, I'm feeling that. Like, well, I'm 29, but I felt that 28, it changed, like totally changed.
I would rather
It's
smoke.
like not fun anymore.
No, that's it. I would rather smoke because like if I get high, you're like, oh, I get high, and then it's like you come down and you're like, I'm good, right? Or if I
Yes.
like go out and I'm drinking, it takes me like 3 business days to recover, and I'm like, you know what I mean? You have to fucking like plan out. You're like, oh, hey, I was supposed to work out, but my body feels like shit. You
The
know
next
what I
day
mean?
is a complete write-off.
Yeah,
for me.
it's awful.
Nothing is
It's
happening.
awful.
Yeah. I find it changed also how I got drunk. I mean, I stopped drinking. Like I stopped kind of getting drunk because I got to a place where at the time I was so depressed that I would drink that I would just cry. And it was like I couldn't stop it. So it's
Right.
like, it's not fun when you're just like at a party crying. Like and also nobody wants to see that. Like nobody wants to see a drunk girl crying. Like,
Go to the bathroom.
yeah, you go to the bathroom, do your breathing exercises. But it was getting so bad that I was like, okay, well, drinking isn't even fun anymore. But I
Right.
find even now, like the last few weeks when I'm in town in Montreal, I'll drink, also the holidays. And I don't get drunk the same way. Like I almost don't get drunk at all.
Drinking at London pub,
Yeah.
there's something in the wood.
What does that mean?
I don't know what it is about that. I was never like that place is the one place that I drink. Like I don't drink like that anywhere else. There's just
Because you're a
something about that
bartender and
little-
it's way cheaper
it's
for you
really
to
good
drink
place
there.
of
No,
course,
it's
right?
not, it's not even just that. It's really just the superpowers I get in that place when I'm a customer as well. There's something about that bar. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just like
You have good memories there.
I guess, but I know it's other people too. Like everybody,
Sure.
everybody who comes in there, it's like there's a ghost in the building. So maybe the ghost is just like an alcoholic.
It's
and,
Montreal.
like,
The's a ghost in every fucking building, even the new buildings. Like, they'll have old
fair.
French
Yeah.
ghosts. They're like, I was a fur trader. You're like, oh, relax, bro. Come on.
Yeah. And that guy was an alcoholic for sure.
I think with London, it kind of just feels like a neighborhood bar. Like I think at one point I was like, this is the set of How I Met Your Mother.
Yes.
Like,
Oh,
you know
wow.
what I mean?
That's true.
Like you're in the booth and you're like, this is How I Met Your Mother. Like this is the bar that people in their 30s go to. Like it just, and it's also like there's a built-in culture as well. Like you have a lot of regulars, like a lot of the same people come through.
And most of the people who drink there are service industry. So most of the people can.
Oh,
drink.
that's also I think a defining factor because it's people who understand the business and are going to be respectful of your space because they know what that space means
Fully.
to the staff, right? Where it's like drunk fucking college students are going to show up and get fucking hammered and fuck around, right? But like service industry people are going to show up and be like, hey, let's be respectful because we understand it's your place of work.
Exactly. It's
know,
almost
which
like
is
I
always
bartend
fun.
one night a week, Wednesday nights. Specifically chose Wednesday nights because it's that night.
Staff night.
I would never work a Friday, Saturday. You get the random tourists,
Yeah.
you get horrible people. It's just the worst.
Yeah, Wednesday nights are the night.
Yeah.
The night. Okay, well, in like thematic with the show, is there something that you do that you think you're the only one who does it, or something really weird that you do that you're like, oh man, am I the only one? I probably should have told you guys to prepare something, but I didn't.
It's all right. There's so many things for sure, but I am blanking right now because the Zin has got me. I'm honestly buzzing. No, it hit
Good
me.
or bad?
It's a little bit of both. I gotta be honest.
I'm sorry.
No, it's cool. It's cool. I know. I put it in my mouth. Don't worry.
But But he fucking hid a lot of shit before. We
Yeah,
put it in
yeah.
our mouths, and he's like, if you feel lightheaded and you're starting to
I
burn,
didn't think I
if
needed
you
to
start-
explain nicotine to 30-year-old men.
I think if you're shilling out things that we've never, it's like drugs. You got to be like, hey, this is what's gonna happen to you.
That's
I think you need
fair.
to-
I mean, if there was acid in there, I would have given more of a breakdown.
Are your hands supposed to go numb? Is that normal?
I gotta say my hands are a little.
Yeah.
I can see feelings.
Like
Is that?
sweating. But it's one of those things. It's a little good, a little. That's kind
scary.
of how weed is for me. I can't really smoke weed anymore. That's a crazy anxiety inducer for me.
Oh,
now.
okay.
Oh wow.
Around 30, it was
Didn't
like
you say that
forget
I
about
gave
it.
you I gave you some rosin and you smoked it and it just ruined
That
you?
was insane. Yeah. He gave me I drove him home one night and he was like, "Hey, take this." And I was smoking hash at the time.
Yes, that's why I gave it to you.
But I find I would smoke. I was smoking cigarettes at the time too. And I would get rolling tobacco. I'd put
Right.
like a little bit of hash. It was very much it was very mild. And this was just like goop, just like the soul of a THC plant. Like I was smoking like Chami Chong's like
you,
liver. I don't know.
In a joint, like you rolled it in a joint?
I think I did it like
Or in a
hash.
pipe?
Like I put it
in a
with
pod.
tobacco.
Okay, gotcha.
And it was like instant like terror, panic. It's all good. I still have it because I never touched it. It's still in my drawer.
Tommy Chong, by the way, the worst live show I've ever seen in my life. Cheech and Chong,
Oh yeah.
awful.
Oh, for sure.
I saw
could
Cheech and
imagine.
Chong like a couple years ago. Place des Arts. It was like a Monday night. There was like 200 people there. So fucking bad. Literally, just like them old, like doing.
How old are they now?
Their 70s.
Yeah.
Were they doing like the old bits?
They're doing
and
some of their old bits, and then it was all sketch, and all of it was bad. It was all weird. The fucking tone was weird. Every joke was like a weird rape joke. It was like fucking bizarre.
It's like
a lot of
70-year-old men fighting off the dementia.
yeah, it was.
Right,
Oh,
right.
it
They're
was
like, we
very
can
good.
make
And
some
then
money, I guess.
Tommy Chong's girlfriend did stand up like to open the night, and she just did like 5 minutes of like weed is good, but it's like stuff you'd hear at an open mic. You're like, isn't food better when you're smoking weed?
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Isn't sex fun when you're smoking weed? And it's just like, I was like, why are we here? Like, it was unbelievable. And I also had an edible in the form of a lollipop, and I got fucking just too high and I threw up. I was fucking wrecked. Just like the worst night. It was absolutely awful.
That sounds bad.
Yeah.
But I think long-term weed use, there's like a lot of studies about like it also changing your brain.
Yeah,
Like
no,
long-term.
for sure.
Like, and making you more anxious too
Yeah.
as well.
If it made me feel good, I'd still be smoking weed.
Yeah.
There was a time, but now looking back through life, I realized like I got that anxiety from it so young. I started smoking very, very young.
Okay.
Like first time I tried it, I was like grade 7 or something. Kind of thing.
damn.
I wasn't like a stoner back then, but like by the end of high school, it was like becoming a pretty often thing. And now I look back, like when I was in CEGEP, smoked tons of weed, and I would like retreat within myself and become
Yeah.
I was like a weirdo, And now I look back, I'm like, oh, I was just like paranoid and anxious all the time because I was always high.
Yeah. But then what did weed bring to you at that time? Like, was it like a numbing thing, or was it just like, or you associated it maybe with, like, did it manage your anxiety at first?
Or was it like
It was just fun.
the
then
people
make
you were
it
hanging
worse.
out with while smoking weed? It was like fun.
Could
like,
be.
Yeah, that's
It
fun
was a
too.
good crew. Like
Yeah.
I started smoking weed because the girl that I liked smoked weed and I didn't, and I felt like it was like I was a loser. So I was like, I gotta start
Just
smoking.
gonna bang a guy who's high. Fuck, I got
And
it.
then I actually swear the first weekend that I really smoked, I smoked weed. I remember it was April 12th, like 2013. That's really when I
How
started.
do you know this day?
Because it was 420 the next weekend. So then it was, so then the 19th, the 20th, the 21st, I smoked so much weed. I had no tolerance. And then I went to school on the Monday. And it was the first time in my life that I sat in class and like paid attention. And I was like, oh shit, maybe there's something here. So I just like started smoking weed at night and being like, it's going to make me pay. And it worked. My grades went up. I was on the honor roll.
That's amazing.
And then I told my doctor, and I was like, it's great. And my doctor's like, you got to get on ADHD pills. I got on the ADHD pills, super high dose they gave me, and it destroyed me.
Oh, yeah.
Oh wow.
I couldn't eat. I would get home. I would curl up into a ball, just so depressed, like hated myself.
weird.
I've always been a person who like, that was the other time in my life. I stopped like jerking off. You know?
I've
always
actually
been
heard
like a
this.
big jerk off.
Sure.
I'm
Who
I'm
isn't? Come on.
champion.
Wait. Did you say I'm a big jerk offer? Is that what you just
I'm a
said?
jerk offer.
I'm a
jerk
big.
off.
I've been known in the community as a big jerk offer.
I'm a giant one. Jerk off a lot, and
But it kills you, right?
Yeah.
We talked about the other day. I had a friend who he was saying he was on like 72 milligrams when he was like like 15 years old.
Yeah, that's the same. Exactly.
And
Or
then like
16.
and then like it ruins your dick apparently.
A lot of medication ruins your dick.
Mm-hmm.
Antidepressants
crazy.
ruins your dick.
Which ones?
Antidepressants.
Oh yeah,
ruins your dicks.
depends which ones you do, but yeah.
I had a friend who was on very severe antidepressants. I was like, "What's the side effect?" He goes, "Bro, I can't get hard to save my life."
Was it Zoloft?
That makes you so much more depressed.
Yeah, I was like, one of the one things in life you could just enjoy is like, nah, sorry, dude. I don't know if it's Zoloft.
Yeah.
I don't know
So
if it's
I was on Zoloft and then had the same effect, but like it just killed my sex drive. And like you also just don't feel anything. Like you can have sex, but you just like it's just completely diminished. And then Zoloft also makes you really hungry. So like you're not having sex and then you're really hungry. So like I gained a bunch of weight, wasn't having sex, and then went to my doctor and was like, okay, like the weight gain is like not a fun side effect. Can we do something? And she's like, yeah, I'll put you on bupropion, a different one. She's like, it actually restores your sex drive and it's an appetite suppressant.
Why didn't
and
we
I
do
was
this
like,
before?
why didn't we do this? Why did
wasn't
you
this
make
1A? Yeah.
Why did you give me something that made me more depressed?
That's how the doctors need to break it down. All right, you want this one that you're never gonna want to have sex, or you want this one that like you're not gonna want to eat, you're gonna want to have sex, but you're gonna want to kill yourself 25% of the time.
Yeah.
Like it's just like
Wild.
it's always suicide's like always one of
But
them.
the way I don't know about like maybe it's like a too big of a conversation to have right now, but it's like the way they talk to you about drugs is so muted and so short. Like I was giving you shit about like you didn't tell me about Zyn, right? But literally like I went to the doctor a year and a half ago, November of 2022, because I had never been to a doctor to get my blood tested ever in my 30s. And I was like, I have a kid now. I should probably check what's under the hood because if I die of a heart attack, that's awful. And because for the first time in my life, I had to think about someone other than me.
Yourself.
As fucked up as
And
that
isn't
is.
that so ironic that that's when you decided to take care of your health?
Yeah. You're like, there's a little bit, like I was married.
not for me,
No, I
it's
was
just
married
for
and I
my
had a
kid.
wife and I was like, whatever. But then I have a kid and I was like, oh, I should probably check, right? So he takes my blood and the doctor's like, you're going to fucking die. Like it's not a question of if, it's a question of when. You're going to fucking die. So then he starts with, you're a type 2 diabetic. And I'm like, which kind is that? And he's like, the kind where you do it to yourself? It's that kind. I was like, cool. So then he's like, here's what we're going to do. We're going to put you on X, Y, and Z. And I was like, what does this medication do? He's like, I don't have time to go through all this with you. He's like, I don't have, do you want to do this or not? And I was like, I want to know what is going on here.
Yeah.
So there was all that thing. There was this crazy shortage with like Ozempic. And he's like, if it doesn't go well, we're going into Ozempic. And I'm reading all this crazy shit. And I was like, what are the options? So like, what are the different things? So we figured out something that works and that's not like an injection or going to fuck up my body or fuck up my brain chemistry. And that's you have to ask these questions because it feels like they don't have time to go through everything.
Well, they want you to just do it, and try it, see if it works, come back, try something else. Like that's the way that they operate in this. I mean, I
They're
guess in this
incentivized
province.
to give you drugs
insane.
from the
It's
companies, right?
insane.
So
Yeah, and they're incentivized to offer you some stuff first. Like I feel like Zoloft is always the one they offer everyone, and there's probably a reason for that. There's probably like a Zoloft lobby that's just like, yeah, this is the first one you offer people, and then you have to ask more questions and push. It's so crazy. Like I worked in private and public, and I like learned so much about. You have to really, really push. Like I remember one time I was having chest pains and I was like, I want an X-ray. And she was like, I don't think it's necessary. I was like, I want an X. Like you have to literally you almost have to be like a Karen, or you're gonna not get anything done. You'll die of a bladder infection. Like they won't listen to you. I remember getting into a full-on fight with a nurse because like I had a UTI and I was like, this is not gonna go away. Like you need to give me medication. She's like, no, it'll be fine. Like, they're just You have to like fight.
My father,
advocate for yourself.
My father is in remission from a specific kind of cancer that he had in life for like 8 years. And then he started different treatments. And now the side effect of those treatments have become progressively worse and scarier. And then when you go into the hospital, he's having certain side effects that are very troublesome and very worrisome. And we go, hey, we would like you to address these. And they look at him and they do these tests and they go, yeah, we haven't figured out what it is, but we're just going to send him home. And it's happened 4 or 5 times until you get a different doctor, and then eventually you get the head of some fucking department who's pissed off at the fact that something hasn't been done, and then they start calling people.
Yeah.
So it feels like you have to go through fucking 10, 12 people to get a conversation with one person who can action something. And there's a lot of frustration. And I hear about, I can't speak in terms of experience, but I hear about it from a lot of my friends who are people of color or women or people who are from marginalized communities. Gay, trans, the people, they get taken less seriously when they have these kind of conversations, which is awful because like even my dad, who's like old straight white guy, they're not taking him seriously. So what's going to happen when it's somebody else? Like it feels like this weird fucking system where it's like healthcare is free, but it's like at what point are we?
It's like a gay guy shows up to the hospital like, I broke my arm. They're like, nah, it's AIDS.
No, dude.
It's
What are you
AIDS.
thinking about, bro?
It's
Yeah.
AIDS.
Well, also the problem, I mean, is because the way the system is like they tell you like just get a family doctor. Once you have a family doctor, you'll be fine. And then people
Sure.
get on these wait lists to see family doctors. But like when you're a GP, you're making an educated guess at best.
Mm-hmm.
Like you have your patients, like you're supposed to be kind of just be controlling where they see. But I always tell people just like right away go see a specialist. Like don't
If you
like,
can.
If you can, like go to your doctor, get a referral to see a specialist. Like use your family doctor to see a specialist because they're the ones that are gonna know.
Yeah, use your Karen voice.
Yeah.
Dr. Leibowitz is it?
What is that? Irish?
Jewish.
Perfect.
So did you have any like symptoms of the diabetes that you were just living with, and you're like,
I didn't have any really symptoms. I was just making poor choices every day. And then when they take your blood, there's certain tests, there's certain benchmarks, right? So they take your sugar, obviously, with the blood, and the sugar for a diabetic is whatever number, and my blood was double that number in glucose. So it's like there's the threshold to be a diabetic, which is like, for example, 8. I was like at 16.
Oh, geez.
And then they have also part of your blood test, which shows kind of like the blood flow and how close you are to a heart attack. And it's a scale from 1 to 100. 1 is like you're an Olympic level athlete. You have perfect, respiratory health and cardiovascular health. And then the other is like 100, which is like you're presently having a cardiac attack. And I was like somewhere in like the 70s or 80s.
Oh God.
and so like, but now are you walking around with like a pep in your step? Like,
I feel way better. I've lost 40 pounds. My blood sugar is a quarter of what it was a year and a half ago. That number has dropped from 70 to like in the teens somewhere. So I've been
that's so
making
good.
a lot of changes.
Yeah.
I've cut every drink I have is now sugar free. I've been cutting a lot of sugar out of my diet, and it's crazy too because you start off and you're so fucking strict with yourself about like if I have one chocolate, I'm gonna fucking die at Christmas or whatever. And then you just have a little bit, and you say, okay, so I had the smallest piece of cake at Christmas and New Year's and all this shit. So that means for the next week, I'm just not going to touch anything and it's going to balance out.
Yeah.
So it's helped to kind of establish a more healthier lifestyle. And I feel better physically. And I feel like I've become cognitively, like my brain is working better. I feel less foggy. I feel sharper.
sure.
I feel
For sure.
there's all these benefits that people talk about and you're like, yeah, fuck you a little bit. Come on. You feel so much better and you feel so much smarter and stuff. But it's like once you experienced it, and the fact that I'm chasing, an 18-month baby around, I need that energy. I need that sharpness. I need that, because he's always trying to fucking French kiss a light socket. So I need to be like, no, stop, dive, move, and I always need this fucking freshness. Because if not,
Did you see any did it help your anxiety?
I definitely felt less stressed. I think I felt less. I think it was good because if you have to address a problem, you need to know where you are. Like you need to know the starting point and where the adjustments are, or else you can't be effective at setting a goal or moving forward, right?
Yeah.
So if I know my blood sugar is X and I need it to be X minus 5, I need to know that first number.
Yeah.
If I'm just flying blind, I'm never gonna fucking achieve it.
Yeah, there's like a radical acceptance and knowing. But I think that's what everyone avoids, right? Is knowing.
Yeah, but you got that's the kind of thing. My family is the kind of family that fucking hospitals are evil and it's bad. My mom worked in healthcare and she was like, worked in palliative care and old folks home and youth protection. And it's like, there's fucking horror stories and shit. Like she used to fucking go and check daycares and stuff where there was abuse cases. And my mom was a fucking badass. Like, well, she was pregnant with me, like kicking down the doors and taking underage strippers off stage and shit, So like there was always this fucking anxiety about like, well, you go to the hospital, they're gonna kill you. You know what I mean? Like a lot of people in my family have gone into the hospital and never come out.
Yeah.
So there's all this anxiety, right? So it's like I think in terms of just like taking care of myself and making positive changes, it's always a good place to be. And then you can always appreciate when you make a positive change and you start to feel better. And then people go, hey, you lost weight, or hey, you look good, or this, whatever. And it all kind of compiles and you're like, oh, okay, I can keep doing this.
Mm-hmm.
A slow, steady, kind of consistent effort, as opposed to just like, I'm losing 20 pounds in the next 4 minutes or whatever the case is, So for me, that's been a big part of it. And I've been enjoying where it's ending up so far.
Cool. That's awesome. You really reversed it sounds, from 70 to teens. That sounds like it was a scary day.
Yeah, that was a shitty day. That was a shitty day where I had to make a lot of fucking peace with myself about like, hey, these are the consequences of my actions.
Yeah, there's a lot of forgiveness, I'm sure. You have to forgive yourselves in order to move on.
Yeah, but you can't just dwell on the fuck hey, if you worked a morning shift and you had 3 energy drinks a day for a couple months, this is what happens.
Yeah.
I never drank coffee. So for me, it was energy drinks.
Oh, wow.
Fucking so much caffeine and sugar. One of those energy drinks, the full sugar ones, it's like 40 grams of sugar. It's like a chocolate bar. So you have 3 a day. And then they go, hey, your blood sugar's out of control. And you go, well, how did this happen? I know how it happened. It was me.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm the problem. It's me. Like I'm straight
Isn't
up.
me, it's you.
Isn't me. So for me, I knew that was the issue. So in terms of like acceptance or forgiveness, it was never a case of like, who's to blame? It's me. I'm the fucking culprit. You take off the Scooby-Doo mask. It's my fucking face. You know what I mean? So it's not like I can go around blaming people or being mad. It's all the choices I made in my adult life. So now I'm the one who has to correct it for myself, for my family, for my health, for the future. Like that's on me, So it's just a part of owning it and then not being too ambitious.
But then also like on the other side, you could have just continued until like you lost a foot and then like got money from the government forever and just spent like so much time at home with the kid and everything. Not need to work.
I did fuck up.
I think
shit.
Look, there's pros and cons to everything.
Could have been a stay-at-home dad.
You know how there's like toxic positivity? Sometimes when I talk to you, you're like toxic negativity. You're like, or you could, do this other thing.
Amazing. Just be on CSST your whole life.
Yeah.
Awesome, but
The Italian dream, okay?
I feel like you never go to the doctor. Do you
Get
go
on
to the doctor?
CSST and work cash. You're going to live a good life. I'm never going to what?
I feel like you don't go to the doctor often. But you have doctors in your family, right?
So I don't, just because that's it. You got to go to the doctor. You got to see the specialist. You got to do this. You got to do that. You got to do this. You got to do that. They don't do anything until you get to the 17th person. I also want to die. So it's just kind of like, let it happen,
true Gen Z. Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah. Some people will hear news like that and be like, fuck it. I'm fucked anyway.
For sure.
Right?
Yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah. But that's
I'm
like
gonna
a lack
regret
of
it. I always regret
accountability.
everything in my life. In 20 years, I'm going to look back.
You
and be
always
like, why
regret
couldn't I do this
everything
stuff?
in your life?
Well, I
feel like that's a lot to unpack.
I commit.
How much more time do we got? This is going to be a long one.
I commit to making bad decisions, like consciously, and regret it. There's obviously a lot that I don't regret, and a lot of great things, that I'm happy with. But so many times, like my whole life since I'm a kid, I'm like, if I could just go back to 5. I was like 11, being like, if I could go back to 5, I could take over.
That
world.
early?
Yeah.
You're reading all those Facebook posts. If you could go back to this age with all the knowledge you have now, and invest in Apple, bro. Fucking buy crypto.
It's a big thing for me that like I like really like cared about stuff. And Matt was telling me that it's kind of like an OCD thing that like you really want to do it all, and the second you don't complete it, you give up on everything. And for me, like school was like I was really good.
You were
at
good.
everything.
Yeah, you didn't have to work hard either.
At all.
There we go.
And then
Not
my
me
mom brought
It's
me
the talented. What's it called? The talented child syndrome.
Yeah, like gifted child syndrome.
child,
Yeah.
So we were doing our multiplication test in 2nd grade, and it was every Wednesday right away when you start class. And it was like a competition in the class to see who could get to the highest number, like the fastest. And my mom was a degenerate who would just bring me late to school every day. And it's like this teacher is now punishing me and not letting me do the test. So then I got held back one level because I didn't do that level and pass to the next one. I gave up on everything forever.
At what, 6 years old?
In 2nd grade. Okay. I was like, I wish I
Because
could
you
go back
wanted
to like
you wanted like a
18.
perfect
Yeah.
record.
Really, no,
until you
there was
were-
no point. I can't be
Yeah.
the best. Why would I try? And
That's
then
interesting.
until 9th grade when I started smoking weed, I was like, oh, maybe I could do school again.
They put you back in grade 2. You're an adult with a full beard. Give me that multiplication, same teacher. Give me that multiplication test, bro. I'm here on time now. What? You and me. Let's go.
Bro, it would change my life. But if I could go back, I don't know. There's many things that I want, but I think if I could have my brain now, I would commit to maybe even going back to 5 to start from the beginning. What age would you guys go back to if you could, or would you just never go back?
Wait.
I
What's the
would
question
never
for clarity? Am
So
I
you're
going back
going
with the
back
knowledge I have
Everything
now?
you know now.
Everything you know.
Oh
now.
shit, that's interesting.
How would you even deal with that? Because I think about this all the time.
For
but
sure,
how would
yeah.
you deal with that? Like for me, it
You
would
buy an
probably
almanac
be like
from 1950 to 2000, and then you rake it in. You start a casino, obviously.
because like how would you deal? Like I don't know. Let's say it's like 11. How would you deal with that information? I don't know how you
sure.
would process that as an 11-year-old.
I do believe that like you need a specific plan if you're gonna do it, and it can't be too grand. Because if we're able to do it,
Okay, wait.
there's
We're
gonna
going.
be others. So you can't bait yourself out. If you just go back and buy Bitcoin at 1 cent and you get $10 billion, they're gonna kill you. They're like, we know you did it. Like that movie, I don't remember what it's, Jumper.
This is great because this is not the first time you've thought about this. This is years of planning. You're like, this is my moment to fucking unleash this on people.
There's so many. There's one moment I really could just go back to after my bar mitzvah in the living room, with my grandparents and my family, counting the checks and the money, and then getting to and being like,
Apple.
hey, I need this much money from this to do whatever, and convince them, and then just put it in Bitcoin. But then that's where like they're gonna get me. They're gonna kill. You know what I mean? They're gonna kill me because they're like, you can't do that.
Yeah.
So I think I would just go back and maybe one dream is to go back and like start doing stand up earlier.
Yeah.
Oh, I would love that.
I
You
would
know,
do stand up
start at
earlier.
16.
16. Oh yeah.
I started at 26, and
I started at 26 also.
it took me so long to start. I think Wasim and I have had this conversation, but it's like I between 13 and like 25, I just came up with reasons why I shouldn't.
Me too.
And then I got on stage and I was like, oh, this is the best. I want to do this forever.
Exactly.
Yeah. I wrote my first stand up set when I was 19.
Nice.
And I just lived on my computer. And no one saw it.
I wrote very, very early. I used to go to the works all the time.
Oh shit.
And I had like a notebook and whatever. But it's like also at the same I don't completely regret not starting much earlier because I was like, I was much more weak, I guess, like mentally.
Yeah.
And I think had I like gone and just bombed a few times, like I called the Comedy Works when I was like 18 to do the open mic, and like it was just like an angry, I don't know if it was Jimbo himself or whoever ran it, but it was like hello, and I panicked and I just hung up the phone. Had I gone and bombed and all these older, comics been like, kid, get out of here.
Yeah.
I probably would have crumbled and be like, oh, this is not for me. I'm never doing this again.
True.
It did suck because I went in fucking just because for me I got in because of podcasts and everyone saying they sucked when they started and it kind of clicked like I can
Yeah, I think it
suck.
helped a lot of people. Yeah,
But I was too willing to suck. And I was too willing to just do shit that was just to try and figure out whatever. And people fucking hated me, man. You were always so nice to me. You were always so nice to me. But a lot of people, they were just
it
like,
was
why are
it was
you-
a thin veil. It was a thin veil. You should have heard the things we were saying.
Oh, no,
behind
I'm
your
sure.
back. And the things we continue to say about you to this day. The group chat, I would get us arrested.
Be honest.
Yeah, but I think there's a certain amount of insight you get as someone who's a little bit older in your life, where you have, like 19-year-old. What are they going to talk about? That dick, pussy, porn, cockweed, and you're like, all right. But then someone who's lived a life, has experienced loss and tragedy and hardship, and we talked about vulnerability before. There's something that is kind of more real about that, kind of more fully formed, right? So when someone comes up, and of course they're going to talk about my family, I look like this, I sound like this is something that I've gone through. But if you approach it from a place where it's like, I've experienced these things and maybe we can relate even though, we're different backgrounds or we're different ethnicities or sexual orientations or genders or whatever, but there's maybe some through lines that we can tap into because we have experienced these kind of things together. So I think there's definitely a maturity that it takes to do stand-up, and that's why people talk about it takes 10 years to get good, or it takes 10 years to, because you need to find your voice, how you sound, the message you're trying to put out. I think all of that takes a lot of time. So, yeah. No, it would have been nice to start at 16, though. That would have been
It would have been so good. But yeah, I don't think I would have been able to do it. I don't think I would have been able to do it. I just don't think I would have had the self-confidence
Okay, so
to do
so
it.
all of you guys, where would you go back to? What age? What would you do? Why?
I would go back to 18.
Okay.
Because
Why?
18 at least, like, I think having the thoughts of a 35-year-old in a 13-year-old's body is probably, like, would probably tear me apart. It'd be weird, right? So I think at 18, I could still do, like, adult things and I could still make adult decisions. I could probably, get ahead of my health way earlier, which would put me in a great spot. And then obviously put all my money in the right places, already be mature enough to have, like, tough relationships and interesting relationships with people. So I understand how people work better now. So I think that would probably put me ahead of the game. And then, when I'm sitting on my golden throne from all my crypto money, just treat all the peasants well, I guess.
And then at that point, you're loaded. You have all your money.
Yeah.
Are you still gonna do stand up?
Oh, for sure. Okay. I think I'm probably cursed to always do stand up, which is
Yep.
Love to hear.
yeah. Unfortunately.
I don't know what age I would go back to. I don't know. You said 11?
No.
No, he said
5.
after his bar mitzvah.
Oh, you would go.
Oh, 5.
No, after
5.
bar mitzvah, I think I'd get like fucking killed. Because like
You can slow play it too. You don't have to put all your money in crypto immediately.
you're right, but I have self-control issues. Why would I?
fair.
You know what I mean? Why would I not max out? I think that like maybe going after the Bitcoin on the second wave is a smarter.
There we go.
You get
or
that
you could just
first
put
wave,
something
it's
in Apple,
too-
just like
Facebook.
a Microsoft before
Yeah.
what's cheap, or something. Exactly. But when to cash out, that's perfect, right?
That's true.
Like when fucking GameStop hits the peak in the pandemic, and you're like, no, I'm gonna pull out here, and 800 million people are doing it. You're like, oh, it doesn't look so suspicious.
100%.
So this is this.
Who
But then
would
there's also
catch you?
butterfly effect.
Well, I think
Well, yeah,
Josh is
that's
talking
a
about
different other.
That's
But
a whole
it's
other
part of it.
conversation.
You have to consider all
Well,
of
that's
this.
what I'm thinking. I'm like, what decision did I make when I was younger? Like that, like changed. Like what would be the consequences of that? And I
You
haven't.
never know. It could literally be a
haven't found-
random person on the street that you look at weird that changes their day that then goes and makes a decision that affects someone else. Like the butterfly effect is just so like it's crazy. that like anything you do, if you go and you invest at the wrong time and it goes up by a certain amount, maybe then it never reaches where it was supposed to reach. I don't know.
Okay, so you're impacting with your investment,
Exactly.
so it doesn't perform the same way you're anticipating it with your knowledge. That's interesting.
Our society would have been Tumblr based instead of Facebook. You never
Yeah.
know.
Oh my God. You
Imagine.
invested Facebook, Tumblr blows up. Oh, you kill yourself.
Yeah.
You went back just to fucking end it all.
Yeah. I always thought I should have been sluttier in high school. That was like a
Same.
regret I had.
Isn't that like for me? I'm like, man, I could have fucked so early.
True.
Yeah, like
It's true.
and it didn't
I was
mean
telling the story the
anything.
other day to my brother. When I was like in grade 6, I remember I went to like a party and there was like older girls and they're like, we want to give you a blow, multiple.
Yeah.
And I was like, I didn't know what that was.
Yeah.
And they were like, you know what that is? And I was like, yeah. And I literally thought it was like a wet willy. I was like but I hit puberty when I was like 6. I was like, I was like fucking
Full
out of
beard.
shit, full
Yeah.
beard, you know?
I also
Yeah.
had a full beard at 12.
It's such a stupid thing to think back because it's like, would that have made me a better kid if I was like 12, 13, like fucking all the time?
Just like you walk into class, be like, "All you fucking nerds, fuck you, I'm getting
But
laid."
that is kind of it.
I got,
That's kind of what I would do. I think.
I got my brain kind of warped for a few years because 7th grade, first day of school, get a note from the girl in front of me because I had like an Italy bracelet on.
Yeah.
Like starts with, "Are you Italian?" I respond like half Jewish too. Second question she asked, "Oh,
3% Irish.
Yeah. And then she's like, "So are you circumcised?" And now I'm freaking out. I'm like, she's asking about my penis.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
is this what high school
Where are
is?
these girls?
And she was just a hypersexualized person.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, so she was just trying to, and it just, she ended up like, I was texting her one night and she sent me pictures of her boobs. I shouldn't admit to that, but I deleted them. Like, you know what I
Whatever,
mean?
you
Like,
were a child too.
I was a child, but it's still illegal. It's still like
Yeah, it's
Sure,
still
sure.
child
Like
porn.
it's still exactly
Yeah.
I
her
think about that
taking the
too.
pictures and sending them too. It's all
Her
illegal.
sending it is actually the greatest
More
crime.
illegal, yeah.
Thankfully, I didn't have a phone until I graduated high school. I'm a
That's
little
true.
bit
A
older than you, which is
generation
way
above. I didn't have a
better,
phone until I moved to Korea, that was nuts. That's because I was a fucking weird stoner, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna be spiritual.
Off the grid.
Yeah, I got a smartphone when I was 23 for the first time. I think I had a flip phone when I was like 21, the first time ever.
My first phone was, I think, grade 7. Yeah.
Oh, that's wild.
Yeah, grade 7.
Yeah.
But it was like, it was flip phone and then it went into like BlackBerry. Like I was
Right.
like in the BBM age.
Right,
It was
right.
like grade 10 was BBM.
Because if I was in high school with cell phones, I would have lost my mind.
Yeah.
Like, I think I'm thankful.
I mean, I didn't have a smartphone. So I feel the same way. If I had a smartphone in high school, I feel like that would have changed a lot of stuff. But I just had like a flip phone and BlackBerry. So R-bomb. The first like time you get left on red was on BlackBerry.
I had a phone, but I was grounded so often that I lost the phone.
It's all your bad grades because you kept failing multiplication.
No, everything. I was grounded so much, but it was crazy. I literally, like I said earlier, like I think like I am someone who could make it through 7 days of solitary confinement because like I was solitary confined so often. I'm really good at just like disconnecting if I gotta stay somewhere for a while.
All that grounding
Yeah, it was bad.
prepped you.
Straight up disassociation.
So we all would have fucked
the
more, is
astral-
that what we're saying?
I mean, but I think
Getting
that's
married.
the obvious answer, right? Like,
is.
It's like, you know what I mean? Because it's something that like at the time when you were a teenager,
Yeah.
it's like had
'Cause you
so
were
much
so
social stroke.
horny, too.
Yeah. And you're
And
like,
like, I
oh,
could
gotta-
have been
I gotta
doing
fuck
it.
all the time.
You're so horny. Everyone's
Yeah.
pretty clean because no
Yes.
one's really
Yeah.
fucking.
True.
So, and then it's like, yeah, and then everything's fun and like you still believe in love and romance.
Well, I lost my virginity super early. So for me, it was like I was like one of the first guys amongst my friend group to lose my virginity, and there was like people would come to me for like advice, like I was a fucking sage wizard.
How was your first time?
Weird. It was awful.
It's always weird.
It's always weird. It can't be good. You know what made it weird is the fact that my mother and her mother were friends, and we went to. Her parents were separate, so we went to her father's place, and she was like, "Don't tell anyone." I was like, "Obviously not." She's like, "I'm not going to tell anyone." Great. So I had like a long metro ride home, and she was like around the corner. So she got home. She told her mom immediately, like that, and then her mom called my mom while I'm on the metro ride home.
Oh God.
So I am on the metro ride home, just like
Feeling amazing. Yeah.
bro, feeling like I'm like fucking Ric Flair
Oh
coming
my
through.
God,
Woo!
Yeah.
I'm like fucking winking at strangers. I'm holding the door open. For
You
old
feel
broads.
different. You feel
Yeah,
different.
walking around my chest. I look like Conor McGregor after a
Right,
fucking.
right. Yeah.
Oh my God, I feel like $1 million. And then I swing the door open, and my mom is just beaming with this huge smile. My mom was a sex educator for kids with special needs. So we already had this conversation super early. Like she was, you know what I mean, super open. It's like, the opposite of a family who doesn't talk about it, just talk about it too much.
Right.
So I walked over, I swing the door open, and my dad and my mom were just sitting there. My mom's like, "So how was sex?" And I just felt all
Oh
the
God.
Did you make her come?
collapse. I just felt like my whole body collapsed. I was like, "No!"
That's terrible.
Awful. The
Oh
worst.
my
Yeah.
God.
That's
How
literally
old
like
were
Meet
you?
the
15?
Fockers.
I was 13.
13.
shit.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
I was 17 and it was pretty late at my school anyway. But I only did it, to be honest. I
Some of
think
your
about it
students
the
had,
other
some of the
day.
classmates had 2 kids already.
Yeah, I only did it. I think about this now. I'm like, I only did it for the girls. Like I had sex so that I could, on my way home, group chat my friends being like, wait, I had sex. Like that was like, I kid you not, like the first time I had sex, it finished and like I was still naked. He went in another room and I pulled out my phone and texted my
Oh my God, just celebratory.
like right away.
Just champagne uncorking
Yeah,
emoji.
literally,
You're like,
literally.
"Woo!"
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So fun. Okay, well, that's all the time we have today. Thank you guys for being here. This was really fun.
Thank you for having me.
I learned so much about your Irish heritage.
Yes, you did.
Yeah, that's
Yes.
great.
It was awesome.
Very proud of you.
We will see you all next week, and thanks for joining. Bye.